Hey listeners, did you know that Yogi Triathlete offers endurance coaching for body and mind? We offer personalized training plans for endurance sports, wellness and mindset, nutrition and recovery guidance, and race preparation and strategy, all within the supportive community of Team Yogi Triathlete. So if you're ready to conquer your fitness goals and push your limits, our endurance coaches are ready to guide you on the journey to peak performance. Go to yogitriathlete.com today to set up your free 30-minute discovery call and embrace a future of strength, stamina, and achievement. Your goals, our experience, the perfect match for unstoppable success.
I think the goal is that we can actually demand companies lower their costs and actually make it more accessible. And we're just only talking cost here. We're not even talking about the individuality behind building sports drinks that are more designed around you and being better athletes that way. You should have a sodium concentration that's more appropriate for you, a carbohydrate intake that's more appropriate for you. And do you have a sports drink that you enjoy drinking? I love drinking our stuff. I'm biased, but I'm always this stuff tastes so much better than anyone else. And I get excited to go drink my blanks, my bike ride and stuff. You know what I mean? It's I drink it for breakfast. But I'm a little extreme there.
Welcome to the Yogi Triathlete podcast. We are Jess and BJ, co-founders of Yogi Triathlete and co-hosts of this podcast since 2016. This is episode 430 with professional triathlete and founder of Blank Sports Nutrition, Mike Arishita. Originally a basketball player, Mike switched focus to running in high school and then triathlon in college. Having qualified for his pro card just before graduation, he put his med school dreams on a shelf and pursued a less known path of professional sports and entrepreneurship. Inspired by the incessant overpayment demands of one-size-fits-all sports nutrition, Mike stepped into the deeper unknown with a passion to upset the industry with the birth of Blank Sports Nutrition, which was just a few months ago, which is crazy. We all first heard about Blank during episode 412 with Eli Hemming, who was fueling his winning streak on the trails with Mike's products. Then after BJ had a major nutrition fail at Ironman Texas this year, followed by a crucial chat about carbs with pro triathlete Slater in episode 417, our household switched to Blank and we haven't looked back. With appreciation in our hearts and a recognition of Blank's $0 marketing budget, we knew we had to get Mike on the show so we can not only share Blank Sports Nutrition, but the man behind the recipe, the one who's taken the risks and stepping into the unknown to follow what is calling him forward in life. We're pumped to dive in with this guy who's coming off his latest race at Challenge Roth. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, wow, that was quite the intro. I'm this is kind of a new thing for me too. And I'm whoa, that sounds crazy. But no, this is awesome. I'm psyched to be here. I feel this is the first podcast or I don't know any of this I've really done. So this is bear with me and I appreciate the opportunity. And this is super exciting for me as well. So yeah. Am I being video recorded too, or is it just?
No, we're just gonna. You look amazing. You're very handsome, just so the audience knows. We just launched the audio.
Yeah, no worries. This sounds
just make
great.
sure your voice sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'll try to talk slowly because that's not my specialty. So.
Yeah. Well, we're super pumped to have you here because as we were talking about before, we're really passionate to get this message out there about what you are providing in the industry. And I think we should start there. Your hashtag is upset the industry, which is sort of parallel with what we do. We're doing something a little bit different, and it's not what you would normally see out there. And where did that come from? Where does this? And you were talking about it before, but where is the start of this upsetting the industry?
Yeah, I'm not really even sure when that hashtag started. We had a couple different catchphrases and whatnot. I think it really came from this idea that I feel all the major sports nutrition companies right now, it's they've spent so much money on marketing and to position themselves as this so much science, so much technology, so much patents and stuff go into our drinks. And the reality is from a biochem standpoint, they're really not that complex. It's really, I feel the majority of sports nutrition is a few fundamental ingredients and then slightly different ratios if you want, slightly more or less sodium. But the reality is that the majority of it is it's a preference. And you can ask me what my favorite drink is. And I like high carb blue raspberry. And, you know, Jess and BJ, you guys might like something completely different. And you also not only preference, like your sodium intake is going to be different, your carbohydrate intake is going to be different. Like everything is different. And realizing like the same way you would never write the same cookie cutter training plan to every athlete in the world. And if some coaching company had a $15 million budget and they said, this is the greatest training plan of all time, and this is what all these Olympic medalists use and everything, it's people would be like, I don't really know if I believe that. But the reality is in sports nutrition, everyone believes it. And everyone thinks that, everyone should have the same sports drink. And it's this one size fits all. And it's so complex and expensive. And its reality is just like, it's just not true. And I think about like myself, I've done sport for, my whole life has kind of always been like, my passion has always been in sport. I've always, it's always been like the priority of my life. And I feel like I would have been the absolute, like, I don't want to say sucker kind of thing, but it's like, I would have latched on to any opportunity to be like, oh my gosh, this sport drink, this is what so-and-so uses. I'm going to ask that for Christmas. You know what I mean? It's like, and I'm going to like treasure this like couple drink packets thinking this is going to make me the best athlete I can be, because that's what, anyone who has the passion in endurance sport, like people don't do endurance sport like casually the same way. It's like, if you're doing it, you have some heart behind you. And you want to be the best athlete you can be. You work hard, you sacrifice a lot, you spend a lot of money on it, no matter what way you do it. And I don't know, I felt like I didn't like that side of it. And that's kind of where like the upset the industry kind of side came from, is like, let's take all of the science side of it and the business platform and everything we have. And it's like put everyone on kind of blast and kind of expose like, this is how much these ingredients cost. This is how much these companies are upcharging, kind of thing. This isn't really the origin of the business, but this is kind of like the upset the industry was kind of what we were saying. And it's like, again, I'm not trying to like target, make enemies kind of mindset, but it's like when we sell for $20 a kilo and it's like half the price of what anyone else sells for. Like Morton sells an unflavored drink for $65 a kilo and have kind of positioned themselves as this, it's so expensive because it's so much like technology. And but it's like, I don't know. I don't believe in that. And I don't believe that sports drinks should be that expensive, especially when, as you guys are saying, it's like 100 grams of carbs an hour is becoming the new norm. And if you do the math on how much carbs you would need to take through training to optimize recovery, optimize performance, it's so much money. And like, it's just, I don't know, making sport accessible. I think triathlon already has a problem of being more expensive than it could be in a lot of ways. But at the end of the day, like it's like there's businesses involved and people can make something better and charge more money for it and people will buy it. But the reality is I don't think a lot of the stuff is necessarily better. But it's like trying to make sport more accessible is huge. And I think like also marathon, like one of like some of the guys like, our blanks guys like come from like professional marathon backgrounds and running backgrounds. And it's the same thing where like, I think the beauty of the marathon has always been like, it's just pure. Like you need a pair of shoes and you can go run, you know what I mean? And it's like what brings you together versus like triathlon. There's so much more cost involved. So for the same reason, like keep the barrier to entry low and running with affordable sports drink, and then don't add extra costs to triathlon. I don't know. So I think obviously I have strong opinions on a lot of the rest of the industry, and I can kind of have like, that's probably like the most G-rated version I could probably have, because I think there's a lot more behind the scenes, and just like a lot of these companies, like their public financial statements, you can break down and see where they're spending their money. And it doesn't take that much math to realize like how much money they're spending on marketing and operation costs and just like, shareholder dividends and stuff. And it's like, man, this doesn't need to be that expensive. Like I've said before to like the guys, that blanks, just like, man, who knows? Like I'm willing to admit, like maybe I'll be wrong in all of this, and this thing collapses like a dying star in 2 years or 5 years or 20 years or something like that. But if it does, like it's going to be beautiful, and we're going to genuinely, I think, change the industry. Like I think the goal is that we can actually demand like companies lower their costs and actually make it more accessible and actually make, and not just, we're just only talking cost here. We're not even talking about the individuality behind building sports drinks that are more designed around you and being better athletes that way. Like you should have a sodium concentration that's more appropriate for you, a carbohydrate intake that's more appropriate for you. And like, do you have a sports drink that you enjoy drinking? Like I love drinking our stuff. Like I'm biased, but I'm always like, this stuff tastes so much better than anyone else. And like it just, I mean, yeah, I get excited to go drink my planks, my bike ride and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like I drink it for like breakfast. But I mean, I'm a little extreme there. But yeah, I think those are like the big things. As we've said, I'm kind of just talking chaotically, but yeah, like we said, like lower the barrier to entry in sport by providing a low cost alternative to overpriced sports drink, and then make sports drink that's as unique as the athletes who are choosing to use it, and then make a sports drink that actually gets you like excited to go train because you're going to go drink your drink that you love kind of mindset. And that's been very much like the feedback and responses that we've been getting from people. And again, we just started this like January, kind of, I guess, December, but mostly December was just like friends and family and testing like the Shopify platform. But then really like January was kind of like the hard launch. And then, so people kind of think we've been around for like so long. It's like, oh, how have we never heard of you? And it's like, oh, well, because we just started and we're not spending any money on marketing. So it's always kind of cool when people do find us and kind of do like try it out. It's like, oh, I heard about it from so-and-so and I heard about it from so-and-so. And it's kind of like this word of mouth thing. And that's been kind of the coolest part of it. And we kind of let everyone know it's like we can keep our prices low because we're not spending any money on marketing or advertisements. And so if you like us and you want to see us grow, then just like, tell your friends. They're like, you enjoy it, tell your friends. And I think the response that I don't even think we've had to ask. I think people kind of try and like, oh my gosh, I actually really like this. The first thing I want to do is tell my friends. So we always include like a little friend pack. So it's like a little mini pack that you can kind of give to your friends and stuff. And that was like a fun idea that I had one. I don't even know when that idea came. Like, dude, we should do friend packs. That'd be hilarious. And like, awesome. If you'd be so excited, like imagine you place an order and you get like a little pack to give to your friend. And then it's like, cool, let's do it tomorrow. And we kind of did it. And then everyone's sending their photos and giving their friends and stuff. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. It's like, I don't know, there's an energy behind it. That's fun. But like you said, you're like, I obviously have really strong opinions. However, you need that type of resolve to upset the industry. Like you need resolve behind it. And it's clear that you have it, and you have every right to have strong opinions because that is also passion that's going to fuel the business and fuel what you're putting out there. But I have a question. Like if people are like listening to this and they're just hearing about it and they're like, well, hold on a second. Like who's this guy? So who are the minds that are like, who are the brains? What are the brains that are like putting this together and like figuring out the carbs? And like, how do you even begin to put sports nutrition together? And like, why are you guys the people to do it?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think of how to articulate this. I'll say it's like, I don't think it's that, I don't know. I don't want to say like, it's not that complicated. And then be like, it is complicated, like, and kind of make it seem like, oh, but
we've been oversold a complexity that actually doesn't really exist.
No, 100%. I think that's a better way of putting it is that it's like one of the reasons like when I was like, oh wait, I could do this kind of thing. It's like I took an MCAT last year. I knew all the biochemistry and it was like, okay, if I can know biochemistry this well, then it's like sports nutrition. Then when you start breaking down like the differences of like sports nutrition, biochemistry, I'm like, this stuff is easy. Like this stuff is easy, kind of like relatively kind of thing, but also like not that relatively. And maybe this is a motivational podcast for anyone else to go out there and start a sports nutrition company. Cause like by all means, I encourage you to do so because I think like that's kind of one of the things we've said here is that like, if other people go out and make another sports drink company and it's also like, yeah, we're low price and we're doing it this way, we're doing it differently, then it's like, heck yeah, like we're all winning this way. Cause I just think like that's the direction I want to see the industry going is like affordable. And I think, yeah, we can have a race to the bottom in pricing and have it more accessible for everyone. By all means, like sports nutrition, go for it. You know what I mean? That's not really where I forgot what I was saying there. But so it's like the complexity of sports nutrition, I don't think is that complicated. As I'm trying to say like nicely without kind of being like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And the reality is like, there's been a lot of research that's showing like the high carb intake and generally like maltodextrin fructose has been what probably 90% of kind of successful sports drink companies have been using. And they'll use a slightly different ratios of how much malto or how much fructose, where they're that kind of thing. But in general, like there's only so many ingredients. Like it's mostly maltodextrin and fructose. And then for electrolytes, like sodium is obviously the biggest one. And like sodium citrate is better than sodium chloride because like chloride has more issues than the citrate in high doses. And then like potassium, calcium, magnesium is the only other trace electrolytes that we use. And then like we use potassium citrate, calcium citrate, and magnesium malate. But it's like those are like less critical. But really, like the maltofructose sodium citrate, I think is what a lot of people have just been starting to mix together on their own. And I think that's what I hear more and more athletes who are kind of saying, it's like, oh yeah, I just started making my own maltofructose and sodium citrate or table salts and stuff like that. And it's like, how different is that? And I'm like, honestly, like that's 80% of sports drink. Like it's not that like, and that's where I think a lot more people, and that's what I was doing. Like I was sponsored by Science and Sport for 2 years. And then they were like always changing their like marketing standpoints and their like athlete stuff and whatnot. And then one year they just like scrapped everything. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm just going to start making my own stuff, and started really crude and simple. It was really just a maltofructose salt, which I think a lot of people have been kind of doing. And then gradually like improved on it and stuff. And flavoring is like a trickier thing. Like making something taste good is like harder, but it's all, I still think like doable. And I think like flavoring is expensive. I think that's the reality, is that a lot of these companies pitch like an unflavored sports drink as like a superior alternative. But I think at the end of the day, it's like to save costs. Like it's so much cheaper. It's so much cheaper to sell to make an unflavored sports drink than it is to make flavor. Like our flavoring is probably 30% of our cost of goods sold. And like, if you can just axe that out right the gates, like you're going to save so much money. And it improves the company's supply chain. If you can only have like 1 or 2 drink options, like a low carb, high carb, unflavored, it's so much easier from a supply chain standpoint. Like our supply chain is so chaotic because we have 10 flavors. And then we had this idea of we do a mega and a light option. So it's like more flavoring or less flavoring, which, yeah, that's like, again, the other people are like, oh, it's too much flavoring. And then in the beginning, when we were sending it to like friends and family, it was like, oh, this is too much flavoring. I could use a little bit more flavoring. And the reality was like, well, no answer is concrete. The reality is people have preferences. People have like things more or less. So then we did like, let's do mega blue raspberry and like mixed berry light and all this. Like, so we have so many options. We have 2 different high carb options. Then we have a go-to, which is more like designed around a 25 to 50 grams of carbs. So there's more flavoring and more electrolytes in there because it'll kind of fill a bottle easier. And then we have an electrolyte drink that also is more like a liquid IV competitor called our Hydromix that we just launched last month or like a month and a half ago. But yeah, so it's like we have a lot of options. And then we also do like fully custom mixes as well, which you can say like, oh, I want 600 milligrams of sodium. I want to combine cherry and lemon lime, and I want to call it whatever, Michael's Summer Blend or whatever, things like that. We can add caffeine, we get your name on your bag and stuff. So we do $30 a kilo for that. So it's still like, again, it's still less than anyone else. And I'd say like, yeah, I mean, some people love the custom. Some people just love kind of like our blanks originals. And yeah, so I think that's I don't know even again what the.
I just love your stream of consciousness. All right, let's come in. We'll come in with another question, and then we'll get another stream of consciousness. Well, I love it.
I love that you were touching upon the market. I heard, and I've been in the industry for a while, and Martin just came in and is like, Martin's a marketing company is what I keep hearing. It's like a marketing company. It's not really a nutrition company. It's like, and they are everywhere. It's to the point of, I had athletes who would run the race, an Ironman, and they collect the gels just to save them so that they can bring them back to train with. And so, and I can't remove that from my mind as I'm running in Placid and I see these people taking tons of gels with 2 miles to go. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're not going to be able to fuel.
They're stocking up their inventory
because they're so expensive. Yeah. So expensive. So the alternative is this is the answer and the connection point to what are you in this sport for? Are you in this sport to, obviously spend money, or are you in this sport for performance? And how can you get the most performance from your body and from your mind? And a lot of that doesn't have to do with the high price nutrition or the bike, the high end bike. It's again, all marketing, or the high end sneakers, again, marketing. It's like, do you want performance for yourself? And how can you do it that matches what your goals are? And so when I made that switch to blank, and I had the same experience you mentioned when I tasted blue raspberry on the bike down the coast here, I was like, I want to keep going on my hour ride because I just want to drink this flavor. And now it's like, it's the most amazing flavor that I've ever had.
You do. You love that.
I love that.
I love the kiwi, which is great. Then we're not.
Kiwi is a lot of people's favorite, and it's I mean, I'm biased for blue raspberry, but yeah.
It's good because then we're not getting into each other's bags either. Because there's competition everywhere in this household, right? It's like, so it's just stay out of my kiwi bag. Stay out.
I like it.
Yeah. So my point there is this becomes I think a defining point in an athlete's focus. And do they want to perform well, or are they in it because they're listening to the hype and energy of what's out there in the industry, and they can't manage and sift and sort between what is actually true and what is actually true for themselves?
100%. No, totally. And I think that's, again, it's like what you said. I think we have this like overload of information nowadays. There's social media where every athlete is saying, this is it, this is it, this is it. And then, you have the companies who Morton's at Ironman and everyone's there and stuff. And obviously, like, I'm not a big fan of Morton, less so like the product, but more so I do think they were like, heck, I mean, they were like upset the industry in the opposite direction of what we're talking about. Like, they were kind of the first ones to come in here and charge like a boutique price for a sports drink and then sponsor like these massive events and stuff. And like all the best athletes in the world and like these huge budgets and stuff. And I think it took anyone can go and look, all this stuff is like public info and whatnot. But I mean, like, they started with an obscene amount of venture capital seed funding for one. And so it's like, you can afford to have these huge, like athletes events and all this marketing money. They funded the whole Nike Sub 2 project. That was like one of the big things too with Kipchoge back when they did that. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to be the one to put them on blast, but it's also like, there's so much stuff that's like, this isn't even like the founders of Morton were already independently wealthy. They were already successful entrepreneurs and then started this with a ton of seed funding and have grown more and stuff. But it's like maybe they're athletes and stuff, but it's like, man, I know the days of being a poor pro triathlete, like living out of my van, just like drinking Walmart 2-liter root beer soda that I would flatten and drink for my bike rides because it was 99 cents for 1,000 calories. And I mean, I fueled like World Cups with root beer. You know what I mean? It's like one of the reasons why making the root beer flavored sports drink, like the root beer flavored blanks flavor, was like kind of a sentimental thing for me because I was like, okay, this is kind of a throwback that I don't think anyone would ever appreciate except me. But it was like I raced like for a long time with just drinking Walmart root beer and just like flattening that and adding salt to it. But it's like, yeah, I think this is like we say, it's like these are like this company is by athletes for athletes. Like everyone else in the team, like we're all former pro triathletes, current pro triathletes, former professional runners. It's like there's a passion in this sport and in this business that it's like we're athletes first, entrepreneur second kind of mindset, and businessmen second. And there's a lot of things, like I said earlier, it's like, who knows? Maybe this whole thing collapses. It's like, oh, you guys didn't even think about this. And then it's like, boom, this like business model is actually not viable and boom, you fail and stuff, which I don't think that to be the case because I also like to believe I'm a pretty good entrepreneur and I run these numbers pretty well. But also it's like, who knows? You never know what's going to happen. But I know at least like we're athletes first, like we're like businessmen second. And I think the genuine like motivation to like change the way that the industry is going, I think needs to be the case. Because you can go on the feed and like look at everything. All these new companies are coming in. It's like there'll be a brand new company coming in and they're like, we can charge $50 a kilo because that's like the going market price for sports drink right now. And it's like, how far have we like gone? Like this company shouldn't come in here and ask like, how much can we charge and have people pay for it? Like how expensive can we charge it and have people buy it? It's like, how about how cheap can we sell this stuff and still like keep a roof over our head? You know what I mean? It's like, how cheap can we make this stuff and still make it like quality sports drink? Like we have, I'm actually like in Spain right now. I'm going to Paris on Monday to go watch a bunch of friends compete. And there's like 3 or 4 athletes who are like racing Paris, like with blanks. And it's like, we don't have deals with them and stuff. They're all like friends or just people who are like, oh, I like this stuff. And it's like, I know so many pros and everyone who are like trusting blanks and using blanks. So it's like, yeah, I know the stuff that's going in there is quality because also like, I mean, I'm using it and everything. And it's like, I tried to make like the best drink possible. Like people are trusting it and everything. So it's not like, oh, it's cheap. It's going to be like a bad product and stuff. Because again, it's not, it's like we kept costs low by, I mean, a lot of reasons and stuff, but like we have an incredibly efficient supply chain. Our overhead's low. Our costs are mostly variable. We have no marketing. And yeah, we don't have $15 million worth of venture capital investment to justify and pump numbers to. We can grow 5% a month. We can grow 50% a month. And like our business model will adapt and it's viable to that. And I think that's like one of the reasons that will allow us to kind of outlast, hopefully like a change of trends in the industry. And it's another one of the reasons why we don't have to kind of like artificially promote growth and get to a certain point. It's not like we need to have like X sales by the end of the year in order to like be viable in 2025. It's like we can sell 10 kilos in a month or we can sell 100,000 kilos in a month. You know what I mean? And it's like things just adapt like to it because almost all of our like, yeah, exactly. I'm not going to. We got a good supply chain, I'll tell you that. It is wildly chaotic, but it's incredibly efficient. And I think that's one of the reasons. I mean, I could talk for hours about like the biochemistry side of sports nutrition. I could talk for hours about like the like business optimization side of like the sports nutrition industry and like why everything is the way that it is and why I feel like a lot of the trends that we're seeing are not going to last and like things like third-party suppliers are not sustainable. And I could talk for hours about like whatever, the psychology of athletes who want to just be their best self and like buying gels, asking for gels for their birthday and Christmas because they want to be their best self. Like, I mean, that's like what I was doing like in high school and running. I'd be like, oh, I want to get some goo gels from Christmas because I don't have money and I want to go run. I want to eat a goo gel when I run. You know what I mean? It's like I know that feeling too. And I think this is just every athlete has that to some degree. And I think there's just a level of, whether you call it deception, lack of information, or overwhelming amount of information that's kind of led us to where we are in the industry. And I just, I don't like it. And I don't think it should be this way. And I don't think anyone else is kind of having this like desire to change anything too. So yeah.
And they're probably not taking that risk because it's a risk. It's going against the grain. And you sort of did that when you put school on hold. Didn't you risk, you're sort of risking now, like you've got this going into medical school, you're kind of shelving that and moving in this direction right now. And so I want to dive in, like, what was that decision like? What did you bump up against that maybe others are like, no, I just need to go the route that I was planning to go and this is safe? And
yeah, I mean, I could almost feel like it's entire other podcast of like how I've tried to reframe my life decision-making processes and stuff like that. But there was definitely like I graduated in college and my entire mindset was like Paris Olympics. Like that's every triathlete's dream was like the Olympics. Like everyone thinks about the Olympics, everyone dreams of the Olympics and stuff. And kind of my original plan when I was like map out your whole life, plan everything out and stuff was like, I want to go to the Olympics and everything. And my last couple of years in like short course racing were just like terrible. Like I never really did anything well. And I got a big 2019 and then just pretty much went downhill after that for like a lot of reasons. And it was kind of like I found myself like I'm ready to be done with sport just because it kind of like broke me down. And I was kind of just ready to be done. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna take this MCAT and I'm gonna go to medical school next year and I'm gonna be done with sport because this is kind of being, too much. And then was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna do a year of long course. And I mean, last year I was like, I'm so out of this mix to be like, I was like, I'm so out of this mix now. I'm just gonna go to long course for a year. And then kind of like in the midst of all that, I finished my MBA last May. I just did an MBA online, but kind of did that part-time through my last 3 years in sport as well, from like 2020 to 2023. And then, kind of like had this business idea and then kind of like kept playing with it more and more and more. And then it was like, this is a good idea. Like this business model is viable. Like, especially when you start like running all the numbers and everything, I'm like, this works. Like, and then was like, actually like making the product and I'm like, I'm biased, but I also feel like this is the best drink. Like, I mean, I know it is like if I wanted it to be different, I would have just made it differently. But it was like, I really think that this is like the best drink. And then when we actually started running the numbers, I'm like, this is like, there's something here. I was really like, all right, I'm going to like just see how this goes. Like, I never actually like applied, but I did well in the MCAT and everything. And it was not like being like, oh, look at that. But it's like, I did well in the MCAT. It wasn't like, oh, I bombed the MCAT, I'm going to go do this. It's like, I did really well in the MCAT. And it was like, no, like, I'm not doing this just because like the original plan. And it was kind of like this at a certain point. I was like, I've always done my whole life with mapping everything out. And it was kind of like, I'm just going to kind of trust this like tailwind feeling is what I always say, like tailwind mode kind of thing. And it was like, all right, let's just try this business. It's kind of like you guys talking about, selling everything, moving your van and starting a new business, like late in life. It's like, that's like peak living, that's like follow your heart, follow that tailwind kind of thing. And I was like, I'm just going to like look into this and see, the numbers and whatnot. And then worst case scenario, like, yeah, I mean, that sounds bad, but it's like worst case scenario, I'll apply to medical school next year. And then, which like, again, that sounds horrible. I don't mean it that way to everyone. Like, but it's like the more and more I looked into the business and then actually started like making everything. And like in December was when like finalized the Blanks Blue Raspberry. And that's when I was like, this thing's going to change my life. Like this business is going to like change everything. Like this product is like, it's insane. Like I was like, this is so good. I was like, this is big. Like this business is legit, and kind of called up a bunch of like my buddies who I was like, you are the guys I want to have here and stuff like that. And then one of my buddies like moved across, was living in Michigan, has always lived in Michigan and Ohio his whole life, and sold his car, packed up all the stuff and drove to Flagstaff, Arizona. And I was like, I want you to hear about my side in this. Like, I believe in you. I trust you more than anyone. Like, I want you here and stuff. And I did just that. And then, everyone else is like, we got a good group over there who all kind of have the same passion, same heart behind it all. And it's kind of like, it's kind of what we've been saying is like just trusting that like tailwind feeling. You know what I mean? Like just, we don't have a set plan. And that's also why it's like, it's a different kind of business model when you have to like appease like venture capital funding or investors and stuff like that. I mean, I literally drained my entire savings. I put every dollar I had at one point. There was one point in, I think, finishing quarter 1 when I think I had like no money basically, but it was like, we pretty much like drained everything. And even now it's like, I'm still not making any money off Blanks. Like everything we were making in the business, like goes back into the business and stuff. And I hope that to be the case. Like I also I race professionally and I have like a little coaching company that I've also done for the past like 8 years too. And it's like, this is, I don't want to say it is a passion project obviously, but like there's way more to this than like, this isn't like a job. Like this isn't work. It's like, this is so much more. It's like talking about like skin in the game. Like this is like soul in the game, that old saying, but this is, so it's kind of like, it's still surreal. That's why even like being on this like podcast and stuff and being like, oh, people want to talk about the guy who like started Blanks. I'm like, this is weird, man. No one even like, a lot of people don't even like know that's me and whatnot. I'm not really like kind of like shouting from the rooftops, like, look at me, look what I did and stuff. Cause I feel like there's a lot of ego involved with a lot of the other sports nutrition companies going on. It's like, look at this is me, this is my name and stuff like that. And it's like, what's your goal here, yo? So I don't know. It's been cool. Like there's been random times where like go to like the pool or a run workout or like a race or something. I'm like, dude, that person has a Blanks bottle right there. I was like, that's a Blanks bottle. And it's like the coolest feeling of all time. And I'll be like, oh, yo, dude, like, go see my Blanks bottle. Like I was at this run workout in Las Vegas between like races and someone came out to me, he saw my Blanks bottle. He's like, oh, dude, Blanks. Like, Blanks? I love Blanks. And I was just like, yo, dude, like me too. And then it was just like, that was it. And it was just like, that was the end of the exchange. And I was like, this is insane. So it's still like a bit surreal to me. But just like seeing like, we get DMs and just like emails and people they're psyched. And hearing like y'all's story, I know like we talked kind of before we went on record mode, but it's like hearing y'all have like these great races and stuff, like fine tuning, like nutrition stuff. Like, that's what it's like all been about. It's like, and not breaking the bank. It's not like, oh yeah, I finally invested in some Alpha Fly and I'm running so much better. It's like, no, I finally like gave this a shot and I finally like somehow discovered these dudes. You know what I mean? Like somehow discovered this company, because a lot of people are like, wow, how did I never hear about you? And it's like, well, we spent $0 on marketing and we've been around for 6.5 months. So like, it's kind of hard to find, like the odds are stacked against you. We're not really pumping ads into here. And we've said too, it's like from a business standpoint, like focus entirely on like customer retention and don't put any effort into customer acquisition. And like our mindset is like, once someone discovers Blanks, once they try Blanks, like never give them a reason to try anything else. And we're in the process of like making more products and stuff. And like we have a recovery mix that's coming. That's like a protein carb drink that, I also like I'm biased, but I'm also like, hey, this is good too. And then we're working on gels. Our gels are I'm not going to get into that because our gels are going to like genuinely change everything, but we're not that was the original. Yeah, that was like the original. Like we can make these gels, and then but yeah, we'll circle back around in a year because we're doing something really special with some gels that have just like a million moving pieces first. But when that comes together, I think it's going to be special. But yeah, it's like once people find us and we're like, don't give them a reason, and now it's like, yeah, like people come back every month and buy more blanks, and they're just psyched, and we always give them little goodies and. Yeah, people are happy. People are racing well. People are enjoying training and saving money and like what you can ask for. Like it's been incredible. So I know I'm kind of going on a rant there, but no, it's truly been really cool. It's been special for sure. So yeah.
You keep referencing blanks, and I've got my almost done kiwi here, and there's a blank line with an apostrophe S, and then it says sports nutrition. So as you're referencing like blanks, like people are saying like, I love blanks. Explain to the audience, like, what is that? What does this mean? Blanks, sport nutrition. Yeah. What's blank?
Yeah. So it kind of has like a multiple, like faceted kind of thought process behind it, but kind of the original one was like, oh, let's build like custom sports drink and everything like that. And that's what we are doing. We're building custom sports drinks and stuff. But the reality is like most people don't even buy the custom stuff. They just like get the blanks originals. Cause I mean, that's what I do. I don't even make my own custom mix. I'm like, the regular stuff is like, I don't want to be like, oh, don't get the custom mix. But like the other stuff's just, it's like, unless you really have like specific sodium intake or carb intake, or you want to like mix flavors or add caffeine is like the big reasons why. But, yeah, so the idea being like it can make it be like Michael's sports nutrition, Jess's sports nutrition, BJ's sports nutrition, Eli's sports nutrition. You can kind of design like how you want it done. And then even just with the options, like we have a lot more options. And then we've also kind of just had this idea of like, so if you order a custom bag, then like your name's on there and stuff. So then it'll say like BJ's sports nutrition. It'll have like your name of the bag, your nutrition label. And it'll be fully custom exactly how you want it. We've had some crazy orders of like super specific niche stuff. And I'm like, oh man, this is like kind of like not like a nightmare because we're like, this is kind of cool. But we had someone who like couldn't eat grains. So we have like a dextrose fructose blend that we're like, whoa, well, this is why we have this thing, is to have these like accommodate these more obscure requests. And we're like, like rapidly figured out how we're going to make this happen and stuff. And we did it. We pulled it off and it was awesome. And she comes back every month and buys the same bag every month. And we're just like, yep, we know this order and stuff. So, so the idea being, it's like, we say like, make your sports nutrition yours, like make it like, don't just buy the most generic, like what everyone does and stuff. Don't, you know what I mean? Like make it yours. Like it should be the best drink for you. And it should be like your flavor choice. Jess likes kiwi, BJ likes blue raspberry. That kind of mindset of like, get the flavor you like. If you like, I want mega kiwi, I want to have even more kiwi. Then it's like, do mega kiwi. If you want to do, I just want a little bit, like you can do all the options. And then also it's kind of like this, like who is blank? What is blanks? It's like, we're like the people's company. You know what I mean? It's like, we're like the people behind us, like it hasn't been this, it's like, we're in this together, like upset the industry together. Like it takes like, we're all in this kind of team together. If we want to see change, like it's not one company's going to do it. It's like the athletes, the heart of the sport. That's kind of where it's like, I don't think people know. You go to our website, you don't like, I'm not on there. None of the guys are on there. Like no one knows really who, like, it's kind of like this, it's a bit of mystery there. And I kind of like the mystery of where it's just like, what is this? And then, it's very much like, like we wanted to position ourselves as like, we're like the people's company. Like, take power back to the people, like take back your city. So, yeah.
I love it. It's like, but it is like, it also kind of confirms this belief. Like when I write my name on there, like, first of all, BJ, stay out of my kiwi, but also like, I've found my mix. Like, this is my fuel. Like, this is for me. It's not for you, Mike. Like, it's not for blank. Like, it's like you guys have created something that I feel is really personal to me. And it's like, if it confirms my belief and like my ability to perform even better now that I'm, I found this that works for me. And the kiwi is like, I think I just have, what do I have? Just like the regular kiwi. I don't have low.
The original, just not high or low flavor.
Okay. So just like it's
regular flavor.
It's really interesting. It's like super smooth with like no aftertaste. Like once it goes in, I'm enjoying it, and it goes down, and then it's like gone. It's like it doesn't linger around, and like it's really good stuff. And I just used it at a race this weekend after using it in training. So this is my first like race with it. But I love the I love the flavor of it. It's not too much. It's not too little, but I also love that I do feel like I've found what works for me right now in this body at this age. And then hopefully it will continue. I'll continue to feel like it's good for me, but I know that if I need to tweak it, you guys are there to do that as well.
Yeah, totally.
So for somebody who's listening to this, it's like, oh my God, they've got like this and that, and they've got all these choices and like mega and whatever. Like a lot of times, sometimes people can be like too much. Just going to go order my Martin. Where video? Where do they start with you? Like, what would be your like kind of, okay, I know it's not a one size fits all, but like, what's a solid place to start?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So what I always try to recommend to people is we have like a trial flight that's like 9 mini bags of all the flavors. So they're 150 grams, like mini bags. So it's like 6 servings, basically. It's our go-to mix. It's not the high carb mix, but the go-to mix versus high carb is basically like the ratios of flavoring and sodium. So if you do like 100 grams of go-to mix, it's just going to be a flavor overload versus you can kind of get a good taste of all the flavors with a go-to mix. And then try the flavors and then kind of figure out which one you want to kind of go with if you want high carb. Or I always tell people too, it's like if you get a high carb unflavored bag and mix a go-to flavored bag together, you can kind of get the flavoring with more calories. So you can always go to and then add unflavored high carb, and you're adding the carbs without adding more, basically like flavor overload. So that's what I always try to recommend is do a trial flight. It's $35 for basically like 1.5 kilos. So, I mean, it's still like cheaper than anything because you figure it's like not, And then I normally say getting an unflavored high carb bag. If you're like a high carb intake athlete, then do that. Or a lot of athletes just stick with the go-to for everything. And then we do have like our Hydra mix is it's basically like a liquid IV kind of competitor. Also have the price of liquid IV, just saying. But it's basically like it's no sugar, low calorie, just a lot of sodium citrate, sodium chloride, potassium, magnesium, all your electrolytes basically, and it has all of our same flavors. So it's kind of like a tastier drink mix. It's just it's good for like the sodium electrolyte preloading. So like the right stuff, kind of similar, like an unflavored or like a lightly flavored Hydra mix, double scooping would be similar to a right stuff, but in powdered form compared to liquid form. Because slightly different profiles, but similar kind of mindset of like loading electrolytes with the Hydra. But yeah, I know I kind of actually just said like 5 things for like what's your best intro. So yeah, I'd say go-to mix.
I think to sum it up would be the trial flight. Like go to the trial flight and go from there. And you guys are super accessible too for questions and things like that to help people out.
I have a question about, I run up against this with athletes, the osmolality. Like there's a certain like combination that is great for the gut, like a certain ratio, and that's what you've created. But then people want to like over concentrate. So let's just say they want to go 100 and not 100 grams of carbs an hour. They want to go like 120, 140.
Yeah.
Is it as simple with your mix as to just add more scoops, or is there some distinction between what that combination does in your gut?
Good question.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a yes and no kind of thing. I think from a practicality standpoint, my recommendation is always like practice it, like in practice, in training. I know athletes do like 150 to 200 grams of carbs, like per hour, or even like in a bottle, and super concentrate. Obviously, it does change the osmolarity. It's more so like an athlete specific. How does your stomach handle it? Some athletes handle like high concentrate well, and others don't. There's not, and again, it kind of further reinforces the earlier points where these companies kind of pitching this like cutting edge research says that like, 0.8 osmolarity is ideal for absorption. It's like, no, it's not. Like, that's just like one study. Like, athletes are so unique and so different that there's no perfect anything for anyone. So, I mean, it's kind of like the lazy answer, but it's also like the most robust answer if you try to really break down like the fundamentals of the physiology behind it. It really is going to be like a very athlete specific, and it's trainable too, where I think it's like Eli Hemming, for example, he was super concentrating, his drinks, because doing ultra running, you can't carry like bottles you can on the bike. And so he was super concentrating, and we tested some stuff with him, and we weren't even doing gel, because there's like different ingredients you add to like make it more like the gel kind of consistency, but we weren't even doing gel. We scrapped all of the gelling agent. We just basically a super concentrated sports drink because it's as thick as you could. We're basically trying to get as many calories as you could. And then we're changing with some of the actual carb intake and stuff, and adding some dextrose instead of maltodextrin helps to add more carbs per concentrate. But the reality is now we're talking about maximizing not osmolarity, but density and carbs per milliliter kind of mindset. And it's very athlete specific. I'm sure there's some formulas that would, have athletes PR and other formulas that would send athletes to the porta potties, you know what I mean? Immediately. So it is very athlete specific. And I think that's what we really try to push is, unless you're really doing, you can go and do some pretty robust lab testing with a lot of this stuff, with sweat testing, sodium testing, carbohydrate intake. You can even do VO2 testing that'll show at what point are you burning more carbs versus more fat, and kind of really break down the fundamentals. The Norwegians are huge on that, Blumenfeld and Gustav Eden and Olav. All what they're doing is pioneers of sports nutrition without even realizing it, and without pumping this information down everyone's throats. They're we want to be the best in the world, and we're gonna invest in this. It's but they're not selling anything. They're just doing what they're doing, and what they're doing is high carb intake and breaking down their own perfect balances for what's best for them. But there's not you know what I mean? They're just doing what's best for them. And that's what I think people should be doing. But if you don't have access to a lab and genius physiologists, then it's a trial and error thing. And that's kind of as simple as that, where it's a bit of, I tried this and then I tried more carb and I had tummy ache. It's okay, well then let's not do that. You know what I mean? Or it's I cramped, I need more sodium. It's again, it's the lazy answer, but it's also the most physiologically robust answer, is that trial and error or go to the lab. It's either do it right or trial and error and try some things out. And I'm also we're always happy to answer questions. Again, I said earlier, I could talk biochem, or I could talk fundamentals of sports nutrition, or athlete, anything for we could have a 12-hour podcast. We should go on a long road trip one day and just get a live feed the entire time, and we could cover every base. But yeah, we're always available for answering questions and stuff. Emails on the site, Instagram DMs are pretty easy. I get those all the time and stuff. So yeah.
What's the you're in Flagstaff, right? That's where you're based out of? Yeah. So what's the scene like there in terms of, we know that there's some, high quality athletes and trainers, but what's the scene like using your formula and getting it out into that environment? Cause it's such a hotbed for endurance runners and triathletes.
Yeah, totally. Oh, it's been so cool. Just kind of recently, let's say moved to Flagstaff after living in my suitcase kind of thing. But Flagstaff's a special place for sure. I think it's got the highest density of Olympians per capita in at least North America, you know what I mean? If not the world kind of thing. But there's just so many, anywhere you go, there's just oh my gosh, these are some of the best athletes in the world all here, especially from running especially. But then a bunch of Olympic swim teams all come there to go train. It's I think it's the best altitude training place. I'm biased, but ever, you know what I mean? But yeah, the scene where there's just so many elite athletes there. And we're just we're friends with a lot of them, you know what I mean? So it's you also realize they're just people, we're all just people and whatnot. And it's but not name dropping, oh, so-and-so uses blanks. It's more yeah, these are our friends. We give our friends a bunch of stuff. And then some of them really like it. And some of them are oh, I'm going to stick to what I know and stuff like that. But it's been an inadvertent trickle down effect maybe of having so many elite athletes liking it, but it's not it was a business targeted approach. Let's get to the pinnacle of elite endurance sport and then start the business there to have the, you know what I mean? Get the influence from these people. It's never been that. It's been yo, you guys got to try what we're working on, man. It's pretty sick. And yeah, and then they're people like it. People stick to what they know or whatever. And yeah, it's a cool place for sure. If y'all have never been out there, y'all should totally come out sometime. So yeah,
we've been out there. Yeah. Yeah. And we love it. It's another amazing playground. Yeah. I wanted to also just mention because you've done something that we're so enthralled with is Super League. You were in the early stages of Super League, and we were just this thing is awesome. And to see how far it has expanded and grown. What was it like to be a part of that?
Oh, it was so cool. That was really so I qualified for Super League in 2019, back when they would do this wild card series where you could basically go race. And it was my breakthrough races and I had the fastest runs of the day. And I was like, this is what like every day you've trained for, like, this is the dream. And that was, then I went and raced the series that year, and it's like, whatever. I like became friends with so many of the guys who had been like watching race on TV for like years and like, keep it cool. You know what I mean? But then it would just be like, whatever, like, me and Christian went for like a run after the races and just like talking about like, just nonsense. And I'm like, this is like, again, you realize that people are just people and stuff. And I've definitely realized that as I've like grown up in the sport and just like, matured more and seen more of the sport from every angle. But it was really cool. And I mean, I was actually like pre-Super League. I was actually like, I'm going to go to medical school in 2020. I was like, I've done this. Like I did my time and now I'm time to pivot. And after that, I was like, you know what? I think I can actually really do something special in the sport. And then I was like, I'm going to go 4 more years. And then I ended up having like the worst 4 years of racing after 2019. But I like changed some things and did some things and had some stuff happen and just like never quite whatever. I think I'm way better now because of it all and everything. But it's like, yeah, that was awesome. Like that was such a life-changing, career-changing experience. And now, I mean, I literally was like, I rode this morning and I saw like Martin Van Rohe, like we were passing as we were leaving. And I'm like, dude, and it was like, I hadn't seen him in like a while. And he's like heading to Paris tomorrow. And I'm like, dude, go get after it and stuff. And I think he's like the best long distance triathlete, like middle distance, at least like ever and stuff. And it's just like, we just had like a crazy night in Malta. It's irrelevant, but it's like, we're just like, it's like hanging out with all these dudes and like seeing them like your friends, like racing, like after such a long time. And, I don't know. That's
a crazy night in Malta. That'll be the episode, the next episode when we bring you and Martin on.
Yeah, no, it'll be funny. We both missed our flights. But yeah, it was like just sports special, sports cool. It brings out the best in people. Let's freaking make it better. You know what I mean? That's kind of, I think, been all in a summary of everything. And it's cool to be on the other side of sport in some ways, but also still like in the midst of it all. You know what I mean? So I'm loving Ironman racing and I'm super excited to do that because I feel like I got the best sports tradition in the game. So like I have an advantage there, but I'm figuring it out. I hit my first one at Roth and I was like, it's some dumb stuff. I'm figuring it out. So just wait, give it another year. We'll circle back around, but yeah.
So you're heading to the Olympics to watch the Olympics. Got any predictions on the Olympic individual or the mixed relay?
I don't think I can take a stance on the individual. I think France in the relay is going to be tough to beat, but I also feel like the U.S. team's always like pretty good. So I'd obviously love to see a U.S. gold in the relay, and then I got too many friends in the individual race to take on, but I've been training with Tyler Mislachek. He's like, one of my best friends. That's why I was like kind of out here and everything. I would always, I'm always going to be biased, but I'm always going to bet on the people that I'm the best of friends with, you know what I mean? But then also like there's plenty of, I think the French are going to be incredible athletes. I think Alex Yee is always in incredible form. And I think doesn't show up to races unless he's kind of really ready to throw down. And he's been kind of quiet this spring. And I think he's primed for the big one. Christian's always like, you can never count out Christian. Everyone was counting out Christian going into Tokyo and he wasn't. And he was there. And I think Morgan Pearson, another buddy, I think he's like, if Morgan's on, I think he's just about the best in the world. I think Martin is like, can play some crazy roles in like the swim bike. I think is going to be wild. So I know I'm like forgetting people right now, but I'm also just like, so
Hayden Wild. Like, I just think there's a lot of gold medal contenders. It can go to a lot of people. What about the women? Like not predictions or favors or any like favorable opinions, but like, what do you think about like who's Taylor kind of a good contender? Yeah. I mean, Taylor Knibb, obviously.
Yeah. I would love to see Taylor and Kirsten.
Yeah, I'd love to see Taylor Spivey up there. Yeah. She's amazing. Like to see the culmination of everything, like to get her a podium at the Olympics would be unbelievable.
No, I think that would be my favorite scenario. I've known Taylor since like 2013 or something, so I'm super biased and I'd love to see her.
We love her. We love her.
Yeah, especially after like everything in Tokyo, like not getting selected despite being like world number one at the time, but then having to like pick between Taylor and Katie was like, how did this happen, was insane. But I think Taylor's like, yeah, she's better than she's ever been. And I think they get a good swim bike and then hopefully just run with, run and hold that podium and stuff. So it would be super cool. I'm going to be just running all over the place. I'm psyched just to go out there and just be yelling, cheering for everyone. So it's going to be super cool. It's going to be surreal for sure. So it's kind of like, everything. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been like an amazing download of like sports nutrition, all the download information on, your roots and what you have to offer and how people get started. And I think people are going to really eat it up. Thank you for all just like the scientific perspective and the physiology and the uniqueness of each athlete, because I think this is a really important podcast that people can go back to and listen. And hopefully they'll head over to Blanks and get out their Sharpie marker to put their name on the front of their package.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. This was awesome. Obviously I'm pretty like excited and just kind of spasm, but I'm kind of usually that way. So you got some inner workings of like what's going on up here. Yeah, no, it's awesome talking to you guys. This is super cool that we were able to make this happen and stuff. So hopefully we can do a follow up at any point. And I don't know. This was this is super cool. This is super exciting. And this is like why we do it. You know what I mean? Like this is what it's all about. So yeah.
Nice. I feel like you're going to like go into a secret room now and go like create some awesome product from all the inspiration and passion you have right now that feels like it's brimming.
I have to go run like 90 minutes after this. It's like 7:45. But that's like what I normally do. So that's when I have like most of my ideas is like late workouts and just random times and stuff. So yeah, I'm sure I'm motivated if anything. That's always how it goes. But I don't think there's a shortage of motivation with that all right now. So it's more just like,
I think you're going to have like a life-changing run. I can't wait to hear about it.
Oh my gosh, I just discovered like, what if we did this? And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to call y'all back and we'll get on another podcast or something.
I love it. Awesome, Mike. Well, have an awesome run.
Thanks, Mike.
Enjoy the Olympics. And thanks so much for your time, buddy.
Oh yeah. Thanks you too, y'all. Y'all take care.